Miniature waterfall edit, and I'm going to dive right into this one. Okay, this is a stacked image. This is a stacked image from the XT3, and it was to bring in the trees in the background and this rock in the foreground. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a quick edit here just to show you, using some of the techniques from previous videos, just to show you how we can change this image and create a little more drama in the image. So the first thing I am going to do is go into AI Enhance, and I'm going to push the AI accent. And you'll see there straight away what it's done here and around here. I also wanted it to bring it in so that it would cover some of the water as well. And then AI structure, I'm going to bring that in. And that again has sharpened everything up there with the contrast. So you can see the difference there already. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the colour and play around with the greens. So straight away into green, and I'm going to shift the hue of these. I'm unsure, this is the first time I've edited this one, so I'm unsure what way I'm going to go. I know what I'm doing with this area up here, so I'm basing it on what's going to happen up here. And it may be that I don't want them as rich as what they are. I might want to take them back slightly, so maybe take them to there, pull the saturation back just ever so slightly. Tip it there, and then pull the luminance down. So that for me is a more balanced result for what I'm looking for. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that edit out of the top area because of what we're going to do later. So I'm going to get into the edit mask, and I'm just going to paint it in everywhere except for that top area. So I'm quite happy with the greens here and there. So this is a very small waterfall from a walk in the woods the other day there. So just the stream trickling down, and it caught some of the areas that I really quite liked. Right, I'm going to push this opacity right up to 100 just to bring that in straight away. And paint over there and quickly paint there. As I say, this is going to be a quick video, or quickish, depending on how long it takes me to finish it. And I'm going to turn edit mask off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into black and white conversion. I don't like what's happening here with the water. I quite like the tones there, but we'll see once I hit this with a black and white conversion. So I'm going to go straight in, black and white conversion. I'm not going to do it in a different layer. I'm going to try and keep everything apart from the final effect onto the same layer. So I'm then going to go in and convert to black and white. That is okay there. And okay looking through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the mask, and I'm going to use a brush, and this time I am just going to paint in. So I'm only painting in here and down the waterfall in black and white. And I've got to watch with some of the rocks because I don't want to lose any tones or colours in the rocks that are there. So we'll paint that in really quickly. And because the brush is already set at 50%, it actually works okay when you're editing in this manner, because as you can see, that hasn't really changed the colour there. So what I can do is I can either paint over it again, like so, and increase what I've painted in already. Or if I wanted to, I could have taken the opacity right up to 50%, right up to 100% and painted in. But as you can see, it's left some of the colours coming through there. If we go for a before, that's where we started. That's where we are now. So this is actually coming together really quickly. Turn the mask off. Details enhancer, just to bring out some of the small details in here. And I'm going to push that to see what it does. Yep, quite happy again with that. Overall, is it too much? I'll just flick that off. Oh, quite happy again. So that's the details enhancer. Next steps for this are the landscape enhancer, and I don't want any dehaze added to this. Golden hour I'm going to add in because that will affect the greens slightly, or I think I'm going to. I just want to see what it does. Knowing what I'm pre-planned for this area up here, and that is quite fresh there, a nice wee yellow hue to that. So yes, I'll get away with that. Next thing, vignette, I'm going to leave. For me, I said I was going to do it in one layer, but for the purposes of this, to save me going back in and jumping through it, I'm going to add a couple more layers. So as you can tell, this is the first time I've edited this one. So the next thing I'm going to do is add a new adjustment layer. Then I'm going to jump straight into mystical, because I'm using that quite a lot for some of the woodland images I'm doing just now. So I'm going to push the mystical and see what it does with the water. That's the main thing. If it goes too far with the water, I can't use it. Pull that back slightly. Yep, I'll get away with that. So there's where we started. Here's where we are now. Again, quite happy. Next thing I am going to do is I'm going to add a glow. The glow in the woodland images that I'm doing just now, I'm really enjoying adding to it. And I've a couple more effects to add as well, just to bring them through. So not soft focus bright, but soft glow. And this may only be spot editing with this. We'll see how it looks in the image. So if I push that just to an amount that I can see it, how it's affecting overall. And I notice that it's really lightened these leaves up. So if I pull that, if I turn that off, you'll see the difference. And I don't really want it to affect them as much. So what I'm going to do, and I don't want it to affect the water either. So what I'm going to do is I'll push it just a wee bit further just to see. So push it to the extremes and we see what happens. Turn it off, turn it back on. Yep, it's affecting these leaves here where the light's been just a wee bit too much. So I'm going to pull that back to around about there, and then I'm going to edit the mask. Brush, make sure I'm in paint, and I'm only going to go for 50%. So I'm not going to paint where it affected the leaves. I might just paint in here, in here. I'll definitely be painting up here, but I'm just going to add in there a tiny bit. I'm not going to add anything down here because I'm going to definitely do that in a different layer. So there's soft glow added as well. Next thing I'll do, I will jump into the Orton effect, and that's one that I love for most of my images anyway. So we've got type 1 and type 2 Orton effect. The type 2 I am not so keen on. If I push that there, it just makes everything, although it can boost the contrast slightly, it softens everything too much for me. Whereas the same one at type 1, the contrast is really boosted and it makes the colours seem more vibrant. So I really enjoy that one. But again, that's too much for this image. So what I'll do is I'll apply a small amount of Orton to it, and I'll just flick that on and off. And that is just enough for me. This was shot with the X-T3. So the X-T3 is a 26 megapixel camera. If you do the Orton effect in Photoshop, there's a few different ways of doing it. And one of the ways that I normally do it when I'm using it in Photoshop is I'll add a copy up the layer, add a Gaussian blur to around the amount of pixels that I have in my camera. Like for example, if it's the X-T3, I would probably get up to about 20, 22 pixels. And if it's the D850, I'll go up to about 36 to 40 of Gaussian blur with the D850. So what I'll then do is I'll drop the opacity of that right back, maybe to about 12 to 15 for the D850. That seems to be kind of the sweet spot for me with this. So in here, although this is the Orton effect applied, and there's different things applying in here, like the contrast and everything, what I'll do is I'll look here. I know this is a 26 megapixel camera, so I'm looking for a sweet spot here. 15 for this image seems to be okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'll turn the Orton effect off. The next thing is I'm going to deal with some sharpening down here because I want this to pop slightly. So on a new layer, I am going to go in and new adjustment layer, and I am going to go in and I'm going to boost the oranges and yellows. So I'm going to go straight into colour, and I am going to boost the yellows. I only want them in this area though, perhaps over here, but mainly this area. So I'm going to push the saturation of the yellows, and again that's a global edit, so it affects the entire image, but I'm only watching here, and I'm going to push the luminance of it slightly. I'm then going to get into the orange, and I'm just going to push the saturation of the orange. Yep, that's quite nice there. I like the effect I've got with that. So for this one, edit mask, and this is just going to be a local edit. So I've applied the greens, the yellows and the oranges here, and I'm just going to paint in where I want them. And again, the brush is set at 50, so it allows me to just work this in quite gently. Over here, I'll take the brush down, just paint in there. I'm not going to do it right through the image because it's these areas here, and especially this one here. I'm going to paint in a wee bit further there, take the brush a wee bit bigger. It's not an anchor for the image, but it allows the flow to come round. So as you've got some detail as you're following the water round, so that's another nice thing. Right, the next thing I'm going to do that I've added the colour is I'm going to go back into AI Enhance, and I'm only looking at this area and push that slightly, not too much at all. We don't want to overdo this. And then AI Structure, and you'll notice that I haven't went in and edited anything else from here because it's made the entire image pop. So what I'm going to do is edit the mask, brush, just going to paint it in that area there. I may bring it through some of the waterfall and just in the odd area in here, just to enhance the flow. Perhaps there, down through there and there. And the brush, the feather in the brush is quite wide for this, so that allows me to do that. So what I'm going to do, because I did that in AI Structure, I'm going to copy that mask there, close the mask, get into AI Enhance, edit mask, brush. I'm just going to paint anywhere I want, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to go paste. So what that's done is it's painted that mask into there to save me painting that area. That for me so far is looking okay. So I'm now going to deal with this top area here before we add the final vignette. So again, a new layer. And I said at the beginning I was going to start and try and do it all in one layer. But for me, it's easier to work within multiple layers. So what I'm going to do is go straight in here and I am going to go into fog. So I'm going to go for dark fog at the moment just to see how it looks. And I'm only looking at this area here, nowhere else. I'll try light fog. Light fog might be too much, but we can see once we've done our next edit. Dark fog, edit mask. And this time I'm going to get in for a radial mask. And it's not inverted, so I am going to do that right now. And then I'm still getting used to the PC, so I'm going to hold down Alt and move that across there, drag it out, again holding down Alt. So what we're basically doing is we're just enhancing the lighter area up there. We're not adding anything to it, although it's called fog, we're actually just enhancing the light that's there. So if you can see that it's around here, and I click invert, it's now up here. Now that effect may be too much for this, and probably is. So I'm going to turn off the edit mask to a C. It's too much of a glow there, but at the same time it may work. This is the first, as I say, this is the first time I've really edited this image, so I might play around with this and just have some fun. So I'm going to pull that back slightly. And I'm going to work with this mask here. I actually may just get rid of some of that over there. So I'll take the brush, go to erase, take that down in size, and just let it bleed over the edge and no more. But I don't want it affecting any of the ferns in the foreground. So we have that lighter area. If we look at the beginning, so there's the before, and here's where we are now. And perhaps I've painted away too much in there. So I'm going to paint some of that back in, because the light will wrap. I'm going to leave it off of here, but I'm going to leave it back in there. So for me just now, I'm going to copy that mask. Then again, I'm going to get back into glow, and I'm not going to go soft focus bright. I'm going to go soft glow, and I'm going to push it just to see what it does up here, and that might just be enough. So edit mask, brush, just going to paint in once, like so, and follow that area. So because I've edited it that way using the brush, there's no need to use that copied mask there. So that again for me, looking good so far. And I actually think I'm going to leave it at that for now. So what I'm going to do is in my final layer, I like my layers and I like working with layers. So I'm really looking forward to Luminar AI. And so if I can do all this in one edit, and one, basically I'll call it a layer, blank layer, and I can still get all the same effects. I'm really looking forward to that because it'll make everything so much quicker. Add new adjustment layer, and I am going to go into vignette, and I am going to add a vignette to this, which you know I'm going to paint out of the top because I've just painted it. I've just created a glow in there. So I'm going to pull that over a bit, and then I'm going to choose my subject, and I'm going to put it subject a bit there. That brings the glow back in, and you see what it does to the rest of the image. So if I move this choose subject around, you can see that I can darken down this area and it lightens this area. So I'm going to go a bit there with it. That's not my subject, but what it does is it's allowing me to create a vignette that way and taking it out the top. If I put it up there, darkens it right down for the foreground, and your foreground 9 times out of 10 should always be darker anyway because the objects are closer to you. So I am going to go around about there for this, but I want this to pop back. So I'm going to go into Edit Mask, Brush, choose Erase, and I'm going to bring this back. Just that wee area there. So that you see that is coming back through from the actual vignette itself. Now the last thing here is going to adjust the smart contrast because that makes a massive difference to your image. So let's see where we push that. And we just take it to there. So that's me for this image. Hopefully you enjoyed that quick tutorial, quickish tutorial, and you've maybe picked up a few things from this. Again, I could go in and take this further and tweak the temperature and the tint and everything, but I'm quite happy how that looks just now. No videos next week, but more videos coming the following week. Thanks again for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.